Ramsuratkumar ki Jai. Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanamastu. Every day, very after the powerful Nama Sankirtan, we have been going through experiences of the devotees, in order to relive those experiences ourselves and benefit from the flow of grace. Each detail about Bhagwan invokes a certain grace, if you know what he means. And some of the demonstrations of Bhagwan have a very poignant teaching lesson. Today also, we shall go through a certain experience where Bhagwan taught me specifically what is giving, the true meaning of giving. In the initial days, when I did not understand quite the ways of Bhagwan, I was watching for some days Bhagwan using an old, small aluminum cup. It must have been green once upon a time, but over the years it had lost its shine, and the green, there were only one or two patches of green. And he used to take a little water in that and tap the ashes of his cigarette into that. I had seen Bhagwan using a small aluminum vessel also. Sometimes, instead of coconut shell, he would keep some water there. And one day I saw a new aluminum vessel by his side containing water. So I thought we could buy new things for Bhagwan and that he would accept them. Especially this particular small cup, old aluminum cup which he was using in the place of ashtray. Was drawing my attention so much that one day back in Salem, I went around the bazaar looking for a suitable ashtray. It took me nearly 2.5 to 3 hours going from shop to shop looking for a suitable one. Finally, I found one in one of the shops which was round in shape, and inside there were 4 grooves for the cigarettes to be kept while smoking. And then in the center, it was a shining silver, and there was a drawing of the world, the globe. And above that, there was the sun shining upon this. It looked very significant to me, and in ways, it reminded me of Bhagwan's grace falling upon the world. How Bhagwan was like the sun illuminating the whole world with his grace. So it seemed very appropriate. And then I bought it very happily, and I had huge imagination that Bhagwan would accept it, would be glad to see it and accept it. But the next day, when I went there for the darshan, when I was called inside, I placed it in front of him, prostrated, and said, Bhagwan, I have got this for you. Oh, he said. I was so insensitive, I did not know this woe carried a warning. It sounded very casual to me. I went and sat in a place allotted to me. And he went on smoking that day also. There was a long line of devotees. It was one-to-one darshan. People were coming one by one. Bhagwan would give them sometime a pat on the back, a pat or two on the back, to the delight of the devotees, and drop a sugar candy into their hands. Sometimes he would drop a plantain and say Ram Ram. And sometimes he would raise his both hands and say, my Father blesses you. Whatever was there, it was all pure grace from him. There was no need to distinguish one from the other. I learnt all that later on. His mentioning Ram Ram was also a huge blessing, which people might not know. So as people were coming one by one, almost 45 minutes passed, and Bhagwan was not making use of the new one. He continued with the old, patched one. Then I thought maybe he was very absorbed in his work, in his father's work, and it might do to draw his attention to that again. So I said, Bhagwan, did you see the inside of the ashtray? There is a globe. Oh, there is a globe. Jairama. Is there a globe, Jairama? Yes, Swamiji. And then I said, there is a sun shining upon it. Oh, Jairama, is there a sun shining upon that? Again, the warning bells sounded very clearly, but I was still insensitive to it, carried away by my persistent desire that he should use it. Had I not gone to the bazaar, ransacked the whole place, spending 3 hours before I got it, should he not use that? The mind being what it is, a trickster, it could do anything. The vagaries of the mind. So I just pushed ahead. Even I thought he was just making casual fun of me. And then again there was a crowd collected outside, and then people started to come one by one. Bhagwan said all that, but he never used it. He continued with that so old small cup. Another 45 minutes were gone. And this time what he did was, every time somebody would come after 4 or 5 people, he would hand over the burning cigarette to Jayaraman, who was attending on him at that time, who used to be with him whenever he had leisure time from his office. So Jayaraman would hold it in his hand, and the devotees would come, and Bhagwan would give them a pat or two at the back, and give something as prasad, and then pronounce his blessing. So this went on, and then again he would take it back from Jairam and continue smoking. And again after 3 or 4 people, he would hand over the burning cigarette to Jayaraman, attend to the devotees coming in. This I was watching for some time, and then I thought, here is an opportunity once again to remind him, because he was getting very absorbed in blessing people. Should I not draw his attention to that? So again, my impertinence would not let me rest. He had to use it. I had put myself to such trouble to get it for him, and he had to use it. How could he not use it? So I said, Bhagwan, you see that ashtray, Bhagwan, there are grooves there. You can keep your cigarette there. He said, oh, are there grooves, Jairama? See, it was right in front of him, and he was looking at it sometime. And again, he was asking Jayaraman as though it was all new and he could not see what was in that. Again, it was warning bells. But I would not take them. I would not take the hint. And so, Jayarama, we can keep the cigarette he had been smoking for so long, for so many years. And here, he was playing along. He said, Jayarama, we can keep this burning cigarette in the groove. Yes, Swamiji. Oh. And then again he became quiet and he continued his one-to-one spiritual ministry. But by then, something inside, I became uneasy. Butterflies were moving in my stomach. I knew that there was something far wrong on my part. And then, with wisdom, I kept quiet. Though I didn't understand what it was all about, I knew, I saw the warning and kept quiet afterwards. Then when the morning session was over about 12 o'clock or 12:30, he sent everybody out, and finally he called me, dropped some fruit into my hand and said, this beggar leaves you now, you can go. So anyway, I was happy he accepted it. And then I was about to reach for the gate, and he called me, Devaki, wait, come here. And he took this new, brand new ashtray and dropped it into my hand and said, you can take it with you. You can imagine my plight. I was shocked, stunned, and after that the reaction started all the way back home to Sudama in Raman Nagar. It was rains and thunder inside. And it continued after I reached Sudama the whole night. I was crying, because I understood the mistake I made. My job was to keep it at his feet and keep quiet. I cried the whole night out, and the next day morning also the mood continued, the depression. And about 10 o'clock, once again, I promptly presented myself at the gate of Sannadi Street House. My face was swollen, my eyes were swollen. Anybody could make out that I was crying so bitterly. And then Bhagwan called me in. There were so many people there. Both the rows were full. Then he sent somebody out, made way, and then allowed me to sit there. And then he started his Leela. He said, this beggar is going to tell you all a story. This beggar went to the temple. This beggar has been going to the temple for Father's work. Whenever this beggar doesn't want to be disturbed by people, he would go to the temple and do Father's work there. Once this beggar went to the temple was very crowded, especially the Sanctum Sanctorum. On either side, there were ladies and gents, pretty crowded. Everybody was standing there with a plate of coconut, bananas, bunch of bananas, and incense sticks, and added to all that a mala. Each one had a mala in hand and a plate of offerings. The pujari was very busy. He would take the plate and the mala from one person, put the mala on Arunachaleshwara, and do the puja, and then take the prasad, and take another mala, the mala of the previous person, from Arunachaleshwara. And bring this mala, he would give to the person from whom he had taken one mala. And then he would come to the next person, take the plate and the mala. He would put this mala now on Arunachaleshwara and take the previous one out. After the little puja, he would come out, hand over the plate and the mala, the old mala. So this was going on. Everybody took it without saying anything because that was the way it was done. And nobody questioned it. They were happy that Arunachaleshwara took their mala and they got the prasad. But there was one man in the line. He was standing last, and he had a very beautiful one, homemade mala, very beautiful looking. People must have spent some money or time over that. So when it came to his turn, he looked at the pujari and said, I have been watching you taking malas, the previous malas from Arunachaleshwara, and handing it over to the next person. But you see, this is very expensive and handmade with such care and concern. So once you put it on Arunachaleshwara, please don't take it. I don't want you to take it out and give it to someone else. It must stay on Arunachaleshwara himself. Then the pujari looked at him. He became angry. The pujari said, what? Are you putting conditions to Arunachaleshwara? You have come to give an offering to him. You have no say in the matter. Once you offer it to Arunachaleshwara, it becomes his. And he can do anything with that. How can you put condition that it should not be taken away from him, handed over to someone else? If you are putting conditions even before offering, I cannot take it for Arunachaleshwara. Arunachaleshwara will not accept it. Anything which comes with a condition. Swami continued only up till this. He did not go on further. And then he turned to all of us and said, this Pujari was right. When you give, when you offer something to Arunachaleshwara or to anybody for that matter, once you have offered it, you have no more say in the matter. You cannot tell the people to whom you are giving anything at all how to use it. You should not have any expectations. You have no say in the matter at all once you hand over something to somebody. This is giving. If you expect something, if you expect them to use it in a particular way, and if you have a condition to put forth, it's no giving at all. It cannot be accepted. And I knew who he was referring to, and I learnt my lesson the hard way. I needed it. I needed the blast. I needed the beating. And it was a blessing. A lesson I never forgot. Though I paid dearly for it with tears, I knew I had learned a very valuable lesson. And I'm sure there were a few other people who would have learnt it also. So whenever Swami did a demonstration, what I mean is a leela, there would be, if you are very alert, you can see a teaching lesson there. Many of us say to him or write to him, oh, we have offered ourselves to you. We have surrendered ourselves to you. But then we have so many expectations after that. We want him to do this, we want him to do that. Often, Bhagwan would get letters saying in the very first paragraph, Swami, we are offering our families at your feet. We are offering ourselves completely at your feet. We have surrendered to you. And then the next paragraph, there will be a list of things that they expected from Bhagwan. Please give your blessings. We are building a new house. Please give your blessings. Our daughter has to be married. Please give your blessings for my son to get a job. So sometimes Bhagwan would say, by way of fun, see Devaki, they have surrendered to this beggar with a list of expectations. They do not understand, they have surrendered only their problems to me, not themselves. Conditional surrender. And then he would laugh. So, it's not only a thing or two that we give to people. Once we come to a guru and allow him to take over, wherever he places us, we have to stay put. Meera sings in one of her songs, wherever you throw me, I sit there chanting your name. Whatever you put in my plate, I take it as my food. Whatever cloth you throw to me, that I wear. And she says, I have no choice. I have come to you helplessly, and I have no choice but accept whatever you do to me as a blessing. So this is what a devotee is expected to do, to offer, to give completely the power of attorney to the divine or to the guru. Otherwise, it's only partial, conditional surrender, which is no surrender at all. This is what Bhagwan taught me. Once we come to a guru, we have to give him complete freedom to handle us any way he likes. I had seen in Sannidhi Street House, people would come and keep 10,000 rupees or something. And then Bhagwan would ask, after some time, he would ask, "You are giving it to this beggar? This 10,000 rupees? Yes, Swami. It's only for you, Swami. Oh, you sure you have given it to this beggar? Yes, Swami. Which means it belongs to this beggar? This beggar can use it? Yes, Swami." And then a poor lady, this I had seen, witnessed 2 times. A poor lady had come, and then she was saying that she had fixed her daughter's marriage, but she needed money for that. And then immediately Bhagwan said, "Okay, you take this money." He gave, those days 10,000 was a lot of money. He gave that straight to her, saying, "Amma, you spend it for your daughter's marriage." You should have seen the joy, the joyful tears in the face of that poor lady. She said, "You, Swami, what can I say? How can I thank you?" He said, "No, you don't thank me. It's my father who is giving it to you. This beggar does nothing. This beggar cannot do anything. Only my father can do everything." So like that, only Bhagwan, our Guru Bhagwan, can do everything. And it's best to surrender ourselves at his feet and accept whatever comes our way, whatever life gives to us. It comes only from God, from the Guru. Does that mean we should not make any effort at all? Does surrender mean that we should not make any effort at all? Our ego is very active. How can you not make any effort? Effort would come effortlessly. So we have to make effort because of the dictates of our ego. We cannot rest. So let's keep making our efforts to achieve something. But while making efforts, whatever is the result is in the hands of God, in the hands of the divine. After making our effort, complete effort, we should learn to accept whatever comes as the upshot of it, whatever comes as the result. Be it a failure or a victory, it's from him for his own reasons. And because it's from him, it's a definite blessing. Whatever life brings to you, be it a joy or sorrow, it comes from the divine. And therefore it's got to be a blessing. It happens because it's necessary for you. How is it necessary? Losing a very dear one, or losing money in business. How can this be a blessing? It is a blessing because it's coming from God. It happens because it's necessary. How is it necessary? It's necessary for your spiritual growth, for which sake this body is given to you, this life is given to you. The whole life is given to you only for the remembrance of God, only for your dedication to God. So whatever comes from God can only be a blessing. And if you believe so, you will also see how it turns into a blessing. And Yogi Ji had given us many concessions. He had often said, those who work for this beggar with dedication, Father would make all their sufferings into blessings. all the sufferings will turn into blessings. But then you have to believe. And what do we gain by it? Even after making my effort, if I don't get something, and if I still accept it as a blessing from my Guru, blessing from God, you will be alert and you will be able to see how it turns into a blessing. It does not turn into a blessing because of your belief. It is by itself, by its nature, a blessing. But God will give you the sensitivity to see how it is a blessing. This is what we call spiritual growth. Accepting, learning to accept everything as a blessing from God, so that at one point you will see only grace in everything. In the beginning, only the good things are considered as grace. But as you grow up spiritually, you will begin to see grace in everything. And that is the spiritual growth. And then finally you would see only God in everything. This is the purpose of life. So, knowing this, even today, the situation we find ourselves in has come from God for His own reasons. All we can do is, we cannot just sit back and watch the whole show saying that it is God-given. It is only for Mahatmas, where there is no ego at all. But for people for whom the ego is active, they have to make effort to alleviate their own suffering. And the best way to do is to sing the name of God and pray to Him. So let's do that. Bhagwan is here in front of us in the form of his murti, with his raised hand in benediction. Let us offer our prayers. Bhagwan,